Stop before you order oysters. ER doctors who've cleaned up the worst food poisoning cases for years call raw or undercooked oysters a hard no. Why? One word: Vibrio.
Flesh-eating bacteria found in oysters is causing a scare, and as cases rise, I spoke with an infectious disease specialist on what this means and what to look out for.
Mainly in the Gulf coastal towns area where it's close contact to salty, warm water. But over the past year, so we've noticed increase and uptake of cases over the past year.
Vibrio vulnificus has been around for decades, but doctors say they're seeing a growing number of infections,
including strains that can go from stomach cramps to ICU-level septic shock in hours. You can't see the risk, you can't smell it. And climate-warmed waters have stretched harvest seasons, so the old months with our rule doesn't protect you. In this video, we'll show you why sourcing is a coin flip you can't verify at the table, and the safer swaps that still scratch the seafood itch. Quick favor before we move on. If you appreciate this content, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 92% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. It's free and only takes a second, but it means the world to us. So did you subscribe already? Great! Thank you so much for your support. Now back to the video.
Noticing more and more cases over the past year, whether through people who get sick and get admitted to the hospital, and for now we had like six people died over the coastal towns and the Gulf area.
People with underlying health conditions are at a higher risk.
Very common, we see people with diabetes, uncontrolled diabetes, that could put them at higher risk of fatal and life-threatening infection.
This bacteria is linked to raw or undercooked seafood.
Avoid eating raw oyster just to be on the safe side, or avoid eating undercooked oyster or other seafood.
You think oysters are a flex. The real flex is walking out of dinner without a hospital wristband. ER docs flag raw oysters as the riskiest order because the threat rides in with the oyster itself, not on the shell. In the meat, let's start with how they live. Oysters are filter feeders. They pull in gallons of water, trap what's in it, and store it. That includes grit, plankton, and yes, bacteria like Vibrio. One bad harvest lot and the load sits buried inside the tissue. You can rinse a shell all day. It does nothing to what's tucked inside.
Over to Louisiana now, where 2 people have died after eating raw oysters. That, according to the state health department. Both deaths caused by that super dangerous flesh-eating bacteria that we've been telling you about called Vibrio. The bacteria thrives in warm coastal waters like the Gulf of Mexico. Most infections happen when you go swimming with an open wound, but it can also get into raw or uncooked seafood. The state says at least 22 other cases of Vibrio have sent people to the hospital. Across the Gulf, in Florida, another 23 cases, resulting in 5 deaths so far this year.
The old rule about months within R felt clever when winters were colder and seasons shorter. But warmer waters last longer now, and harvest windows stretch with them. That shortcut leaks. October oysters can carry the same warm water bugs you used to worry about in July. The calendar is no shield if the bay still sits warm. Think of a sink filter you never swapped. Traps the good with the bad. The water looks clear on the way out, but the gunk sits in the pad.
So, Doc, it seems like every year about this time we're hearing about Vibrio. Is it seasonal, and how can we make sure that people avoid catching this potentially deadly infection?
The reason we see it between May and October is because those are warm coastal waters, and that's when you can see the kind of proliferation of this bacteria. How do you avoid it? Avoid eating raw or undercooked shellfish. This includes raw oysters. I know that's popular, but it can be a source. Yeah, Tom, it is indeed seasonal, but I just want to warn you, Vibrio vulnificus, which is what causes these infections, can happen any time of the year. And the reason we see it in general, just here's some tips that kind of help you.
With oysters, you skip the pad and swallow it. No stain, no smell, just a gamble you can't see. Here is the part that matters for your body. Vibrio vulnificus and its cousins like warm, brackish water. They don't need a lot of time to build up. Illness can start as stomach cramps and diarrhea, then jump the fence into your bloodstream. That spiral hits harder if you have liver disease, diabetes, or low stomach acid. For those groups, a raw oyster is not edgy. It is dangerous. Now compare that to a steak. Most of the microbes sit on the surface. You throw it on a hot grill, the heat kills the top layer fast. You can choose medium rare and still get a margin of safety because the inside was sterile to start with. An oyster is raw front to back. There is no hot kill step, no sear to save you. If it's dirty, it stays dirty.
And then immediately get in touch with a health professional, wash out those wounds, because that's how you can start getting that kind of flesh-eating problem. Wash your hands if you're handling raw seafood. Avoid swimming in what we call brackish or salt water, especially if you have an open wound. Just don't do it. An open wound could be a new ear piercing, a tattoo, or surgery and recovering from surgery.
The truth is, the supply chain is all over the map. Some restaurants demand temperature logs, verified harvest zones, and tested lots. They ice on contact and move fast. Others chase cheaper product and accept longer transit with looser handling. On your side of the table, those two plates look the same. You cannot audit their paperwork with a menu in your hand. Risk stacks by the small lapse. Harvest from warmer water raises the baseline. Slow icing on the boat gives bacteria a head start. A truck runs long, the cooler cycles, and we add hours in the sweet spot for growth. The raw bar gets slammed, trays sit out, and the clock keeps running. None of this has a smell. None of it has a taste. But the count climbs while you wait for lemon wedges. This is why ER doctors ban it. The downside is a fast, severe infection that can land you in the ICU or worse. No warning, no second try. The upside is a salty bite you can swap with less risk. Go for steamed clams or mussels. Order oysters from the hotline, fully cooked and served at real heat. Same ocean, better odds. You might want to adjust the order in other ways too. Ask how cold items are held. Cold means cold, not near cold in a pan of melting ice. Ask how often they cycle product. Fresh is a process, not a word on a chalkboard. If the server blanks on basic handling, take the hint and move on. And yes, there are rules and guidelines for harvest, handling, and storage. Agencies push cold chain control, water temp checks, and testing. Those tools help when they are used. They are not a guarantee when corners get cut. At your seat, you cannot verify compliance. That is the gamble baked into a raw oyster order. So what changes tonight? If you still want the briny hit, get heat on it. If you want the ritual, share a pot of mussels. If you want zero drama, skip the raw bar. Now let's widen the lens, because oysters are not the only trap. Some kitchens still park food right in the bacteria comfort zone, and you won't catch it until you're paying for it later. When the threat is invisible and the fallout is extreme, the smart move is a hard pass. Raw oysters land squarely in that zone. The juice isn't worth the hospital bill. Skip the raw bar. Ask how sauces and proteins are held and cooked. Cold needs real cold. Hot needs real heat. Ask about cooked swaps and whether eggs are pasteurized. Small questions cut big risk. Share this with the friend who orders dealer's choice at every happy hour. They'll thank you later. Play the long game with food. Keep your copay in your pocket and spend it on something you actually want.